you don't want to deal with any of that, well, you can decide to just land them and run around with your Lord of Change on the ground, which is a really nice feature. And it's not just a nice feature for Tzeentch, it's a nice feature for every single Chaos faction. You wouldn't want to see a Bloodthirster, which is one of the strongest single entities in all of Warhammer, get crushed by Lewin and a bunch of Pegasi up in the air simply because it cannot land. That would be super stupid. So thankfully CA hit that feature and finally gave us what we were asking for on that front. Great work from them there. But y'all know what Sartorial's capable of. Powerful melee combatant, fantastic mage as well. Gonna be the same thing here for the Greater Demons. They're casting spells, they will fuel additional army abilities of the God of Magic, but from some of the arcane bombardments and vortexes from the warp. And it sounds like that mechanic is actually not specifically tied just to Lord of Change with your army on the board. Separate from laser magic, separate from your caster spell selection, empowered by all your spell casting, including bound spells between as well. These are army abilities, so the more you cast, the more that power charges up, the more armies you can unleash irrespective of your magic pool. That sounds awesome. Tzeentch is sounding nutty on the battlefield side of things too. The campaign's crazy, sounds like we're doing pretty well. As for the lore of Tzeentch, we're looking at blue fire magic missiles, pink fire direct damage, seasonal attacks, green magic direct damage, Tzeentch's Firestorm direct damage, and Infernal Melee, which in the tabletop this buff is also direct damage, but I think working with Tzeentch is a good chance of being a twin spell. CA probably has a differentiation between those spells, just all just direct damage, but there's a lot of that because this is a purely offensive school of magic. Curiously missing though is the Lord of Change magic missile that will probably be a bound spell for the Lore of Tzeentch will of course be contrasted by the Lore of Metal, the other Lore Exalted Lords of Change and Heralds of Tzeentch can wield. And Heralds of Tzeentch are fat little burbs of doom, kind of hilarious model, and they can ride either a Disc of Tzeentch or a Burning Chariot, swooping across the battlefield and unleashing maddening energies at would-be attackers. The Burning Chariot sounds absolutely insane. I think it's going to live up to the lofty #1 spot. I put it on in my top 5 video a few years back. I think it's going to be amazing. Maybe one of those dream powers, but certainly enough killing power to wreck huge sections of enemy armies. Now for heroes, we have the Mortal Cultist of Tzeentch and the Iridescent Horror. The Cultist has that sexy looking moon face mask. I really like the design there. And the text is kind of hilarious too. Interpreting their god's wishes is more challenging than the straightforward Force Mesh, whose copious amounts of bodily fluids are usually enough. They can mount a Chaos Steed, which is hopefully bigger than the pony from Game 1 and Game 2. Looks like it might be at the tail by the steeds are looking quite a bit larger, but might just be Force perspective rather than change. We can hope. And they have unique access to the Lore of Fire. As they grow in power, this is a big one, they can learn to summon demons directly from the realm of chaos, including Lords of Change. That is very insane. Summoning is a huge part of cultic rituals and demonic lore in general. To see that element represented is a big deal in the armies of the Dark Gods. I don't think we heard much, if anything, about Tornate summoning. I think it makes a little bit more sense for Tzeentch, though summoning is still good as well. I think it should be a part of multiple factions, and any mechanics that can add that reflect that are going to be good things for the game. The Iridescent Horror is a pink horror of less Tzeentch with more authority and sanity. It's a hero version essentially of a herald, riding either a disc or a Burning Chariot. For Tzeentch Infantry, blue horrors are up next, functioning as loads to meat shields and chaff, and the summoning will almost have a precursor javelin volley of voluptuous fire before they charge into melee. Perhaps like the familiar soccer explosive warplanes we got on the side of the Fury. Forsaken of Tzeentch are Forsaken. You don't need to spend much time on them. Other than say, you might use them a bit more than usual, simply because you don't have better options to come with melee infantry. And for missile infantry, Pink Horrors are the dedicated range lesser demon of Tzeentch, vomiting hellfire that will demolish tightly packed low-tier chaff for other factions, while being better in melee than their crappy blue cousins. Interesting element to note here, it appears that Pink Horrors will not split into Blue Horrors upon death. Either CA's working out how to do that appropriately, or they've simply scrapped that idea altogether, but all we know is They haven't shown any split mechanics so far, and still haven't talked about it either. If they were going to reveal it, now would have been a logical time with the Zinch reveal. So, at least for now, go in with the engine horrors are pink, horrors are blue, so once there was one, now there won't be two. Just won't be a thing until we hear otherwise. Perhaps disappointing, but maybe they're holding on to that reveal later for some reason. Realistically, I think they would have revealed it here if it wasn't a feature. Exalted Pink Horrors of Zinch are further updated versions. These fiery symbols will outdamage even the Celestial Dragon crossbows up to 20, which is a bit crazy considering they were playing up their range DPS a ton. So if they can outdamage them, that's very impressive. And they passively increase their wins and magic reserve as well, so that's probably a doom stack, man. If they can kill infantry, cav, and single entities, that is going to be a vicious and cost-effective doom stack. It will make even your lords and heroes better too, as it's increasing your wins and magic pool. Now, onto Zinch Cavalry and Chariots. Chaos Knights of Zinch, perhaps a big surprise here. Again, no Chosen or Chaos Warriors. These heavily armor-mounted warriors will still perform a bit of a similar role because they are described as being incredibly tanky, almost like a frontliner troop, which we haven't really seen from Cav in the trilogy up to this point. None of them are really designed for a brawl, but from CA's description here, perhaps these guys will be. Apparently they lack the massive impact damage of standard Lance Cav, but are far more effective in a pitched, sustained battle when they're stuck in. And with the addition of barriers, they must be one of the most resilient cavians we've seen in the trilogy up to this point. Cannot wait to see how far we can get 100% recharging reward save. Very exciting from a gameplay perspective, anyway. I'm just a little hesitant on how the models will actually look. The Doom Knights of Zinch are the flying disc equivalent, elite aerial shot calves that are more than a match for any foe, trading some of the high armor and defensive Chaos Knights for vastly more speed and power. As CA puts it, they are the strongest melee focused units in Zinch's arsenal. Period. Burning Chariot of Zinch is the unit I'm personally excited for on this monster. Ridden into battle like a blazing comet with the flamers of the Elm, said to have more devastating firepower than even top-tier siege weaponry. It's so powerful from range that it will quickly run out of juice. Not to use fire anymore, it'll be forced to use naturally not. Which isn't really an issue, because it's a hyper-fast flying chariot with barrier. Can quickly slice through a horde of infantry then retreat before it's taking any damage. So this thing could be straight up busted. I mean, they're talking about it just devastating entire villages in one or two balls. And then you can use all that speed and the barrier passive to kind of just slice stuff up with charges. It's going to be a really strong unit. For monsters and beasts, Chaos Furies trade Corn's Frenzy for Zinch's Barrier, making them substantially more powerful as a backline harasser, though obviously lacking some of the former's killing power. The Barrier is going to make a lot of these low-tier, highly mobile units quite a bit more effective than they would otherwise be, if you can manage that shield well. And I think that's going to be the core feature here. Anything that rewards good micro and positioning is cool with me, and the fact that you are rewarded for taking good engagement and then disengaging and things are getting a little hairy. I think that's going to be a really nice feature and make Barrier one of my favorite passives in the game. While Screamers of Zinch are flying demonic creatures meant for cyclo-charging and quick hit and run attacks, still remains to be seen whether Lamprey's Bite bonus for storage will be a feature for them, or if it'll be more of an all-around unit with high charge bonus but low to middling staying power. But it says they hit pretty hard and they can hold out okay in melee, but it definitely seems like they're more focused on the charge aspect, and their charge bonus will probably reflect that. Chaos Spawn are nothing special, either from a gameplay or a visual perspective. We've had them for 5 years, you know what's up there. The Lord of Change is special, even though it will be using Sartorial's old model. They are rare monsters that double as a fully fledged spellcaster, and they can bounce between units using their high mass, impressive speed, and terror. Not sure exactly how those spells will work though. It says that it's a fully fledged spellcaster, but I don't know if you'll be able to choose which spells to bring. You'll be able to strip off the ones you don't want in custom battle or campaign, or if they all come attached no matter what you do, because paying for a bunch of spells you aren't going to use or simply don't want to use or can't use because Kairos and your main caster will be using all the wins would be kind of dumb. So if they're bound spells and not tied to the winds of magic, that almost makes more sense to me, but I'm not sure. The wording isn't all that clear. I'm not really getting the vibe that it's and in that case, maybe not use I think I will change very often to your choice. And that's I just can't use whatever goes winds of magic is going to be good. It's for other magic, but for that, having 2 or 3 masters is just not so ideally, for me anyway, I think I prefer to see that you can take off some spells you don't like, or that all of them will just be bound spells irrespective of your winds of magic. That's probably the best bet if we want to see Random Worlds of Change get used a lot on the battlefields of Warhammer 3. Now for Flamers of Tzeentch, they're kind of the quintessential demon of change, probably the weirdest looking unit in the setting. They're kind of like floating fungi jellyfish, with way too many heads and faces, and their warp flame increases fire weakness of affected enemy units by 22%. So whenever they focus down, a lot of your other units will want to shoot at as well. And though they operate in groups, unlike the single entity Exalted Flamers, their damage output is still insane when positioned correctly, able to immolate entire hordes of infantry. Kind of like faster, but less resilient Iron Drakes. Then the Exalted Flamer is the SEM version, apparently wielding the most powerful range attack on the battlefield, except for the chariots they often ride, spraying cones of warp fire, demolishing formations and monsters alike. And they have low ammo, seems to be the balancing factor that will limit their overall damage output. And finally, we have the Soul Grinder, which will indeed play a different role than the Khorne, Nerdlight, or Sineshi versions, and in Tzeentch's case, will hurl long-range, anti-large thunderbolt spears at high-value targets, piercing armor and making it something a monster hunter. You have confirmation from the devs now that its breath attack we saw in the K and the quest battle is a melee animation, and not currently a full-on Dragon Breath equivalent, but it can seamlessly transition between melee and ranged combat, although range appears to be where it thrives. Armor-piercing bolts from downtown makes it kind of a siege attacker, and a single entity sniper, rather than deploying runners would probably be better in melee, and have that brave shot cannon. It's better for chucking through opponents of infantry. So that is the unit roster for Tzeentch in totality, looking absolutely fantastic on the demonic side. Perhaps less so on the Khorne side, but we've had some time with that system now. I expect big things from the mortal side of the roster at a later date, particularly in the visuals department, but we may have some things to do with it. So in the meantime, at least Doom Knights and Chaos Knights sound awesome, and in a mechanical perspective, even if they don't look quite as cool or as unique as I would like them to. The Changer of Ways seems to have a ton of unique and interesting battlefield mechanics, from army-wide down spells that charge up and cast with your mages, to greater demonic summoning from your cultists, to the barrier passive, which will massively increase the effectiveness of mobile tools as well. And overall, I just think there's a lot of really cool stuff here. A few disappointments, like no evidence of spitting horrors, which surprised me. I can't imagine they couldn't figure out a way to do that, so maybe they are truly going to do that for a week, but weird decision regardless. Overall, I'm quite happy with this reveal. Learned a lot from it. Hope you guys did as well, and we'll be getting our first look at the new matches, I believe, on Friday. So stay tuned for that. Keep an eye out for all my coverage for Warhammer 3 in the coming days and weeks. There's a lot of great content on the way. If you guys enjoyed, I'll see you all in the video. Bye.
Illager escaped to the ramparts. Press on, hero. You mustn't let him get away.